Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sends and Suffers podcast. I am your host, Mario Stanley, and today's conversation is just between a bunch of guys hanging out. These are my two good climbing partners, Cameron and Tucker. We've known each other for quite a while, and I'd like to say this conversation is something super crazy, thought-provoking, but honestly, it's just three dudes getting together, just chilling. And we talk about our previous trip, climbing to Makuntuweap National Park, also known as Zion National Park. We talk a little bit about politics. We talk about our careers. We kind of talk about a little bit of everything. So hopefully you guys enjoy. This would be a great something great to listen to while you're cleaning, driving. But really, that's it. So as always, leave comments. Let me know what you guys think of my show. I would love to hear from you, and I appreciate every time anyone leaves me feedback. Other than that, you guys enjoy. Moving on. Okay, so cool. So we might as well just go ahead and start. So I'll let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is Tucker Douglas. I've been climbing for about 12 years. I'm an educator in the Dallas area.
What do you educate?
I educate kids who are kicked out of their home campus for disciplinary reasons. They come to me for a set period of time, and I try to keep them from burning the school down or whatever, and help get them back onto their regular campus.
Has a kid ever actually tried to burn down the school?
Yeah, we've had a couple kids for arson.
Okay, cool. I'm into that.
Yeah, well, a little bit of everything, but in a perfect world, we'd have them long enough to actually make some behavioral changes or something, but they mostly come to us for 30 days, which means we hold their hand for a little bit, try to get some thoughts into their brain, and chip them on back.
Okay, bitching.
How has coronavirus changed the way that you interact with those kids? Like, are they coming back next year? Like, how is next year going to look like for y'all?
That's a great question, and I'm a little bit curious to see what happens because, like, our campus has a lot of teachers with a lot of experience. So I think, like, the average age, education age of our school, they've been teaching for like 25 years. And so that means they're all at least in their 50s somewhere. So with a couple of them in their 70s. And so what are we doing? We're telling those teachers they have to come to school and be exposed to, however many kids and families. So, I would think that at some point somebody's going to have to stop and say, hold on, this poses a serious risk and we're going to have to be intelligent about this. Obviously, the government hasn't done it at this point, but I really hope that somebody in our district steps up. Right now, we're letting kids do either half they can either choose to stay at home or they can choose to come to school, and then they can switch at any grading cycle. But I just feel like that's not going to work out the way that people are thinking about it. It's a great theory, but
I think that at this point, any theory is just going to end up being a theory.
Right.
There's so much that people are just going to have to work out and figure out themselves. That there's no way. What about teachers? So do they have the ability to work either from home or do they have to be back in campus?
Everybody has to be back at a district location. There are teachers that get medical waivers from their doctors, and so they're going to be able to work at a location without kids there, which in one hand is good because you're exposed to a smaller number of people. You're not getting 2,000 kids on a campus. My campus is a lot smaller than that, but those kids go home to families that share with the other campuses, so that risk gets pretty high. At the same point, those teachers are then going to be on a campus full of adults that have a higher number of risk, or a greater chance of risk, but a lower number of people. So, it's going to be a big experiment, and hopefully it doesn't go down in flames too much, because at this point, there's no good solution.
Right.
Because I think like 65 or 70% of our families, both parents work. And so you're leaving a kindergartner home to learn by themselves all day? No, you're not going to do that. It's ridiculous. So we're up a creek.
My name is Cameron. I've been climbing for about 5 years. I work in IT. I'm a project manager, and I got involved in rock climbing because it seemed cool. And then
because it is cool.
The jury's still out on that one.
It's a lot better. It's way cooler than like water polo, which water polo is hard.
Whoa.
Water polo is just hard.
Water polo here.
I'm going to go ahead and be stereotypical black. I swim like shit, but water polo is just freaking hard. Treading water for like 2 hours and trying to beat the shit out of somebody in the water and catch a ball. It's too much.
It's ridiculous.
Right, so that's cool.
No, it's you wear funny hats and splash around.
And try to drown other people.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I can just do that in a public park. Just push
you
in.
Can't swim. You're going to be the one that gets drowned.
I push you in.
So to get back on topic, I think what you said makes sense, Mario. We realized there were a lot of flaws in our current system through healthcare, education, everything. And everybody said, yeah, but we don't need to fix it right this second, and it'd be really expensive, so we're going to let somebody else deal with that problem later. And now it just happens to be later, and we have to deal with it now. Are you good?
Part of my job, actually, within the last couple of years, was to brainstorm our disaster recovery scenarios. My boss came to me and said, document every possible thing that could impact our business
Did
continuity.
you do if Godzilla showed up?
I honestly, no, you're joking. But
I'm serious.
Yes, 100%.
I wanna know.
I don't think we documented that one. I think we put that
like
in the
alien
realm of
invasion.
natural disaster sort of thing. Like the scale of Godzilla coming and invading North Texas. Let's say that first of all.
Let's make it more realistic here.
Is on the scale of there is a mass electrical outage in the Metroplex.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Right,
it's
rolling
in the
blackout
same
sort
thing.
of thing.
Right, it's similar enough that we don't necessarily have to cover, what if the dolphins decide that they've developed laser weapons and strap them to their foreheads and now they're on land. You know, like we're not going to put down
Our new
everything. However, you know, it was a thought experiment and something that we had to do for a lot of our business partners to say, hey, if thing X happens, what is our plan? If thing Y happens, what is our plan? And a lot of the times, the answers to those were the same, but you still had to do the thought exercise of what you're doing in each of those scenarios. And so we have done that for our business, and as such, our business has not been impacted at all. We have maintained the same level of efficiency working from home for the last 4 months that we did when everyone was in the office. Maybe not the same level, but it's still
Comparable.
definitely
Did you guys-
comparable.
Did you guys ever run a metric for if it was a true economic collapse, to the point where Hoovervilles were created again, and you have people living in parks? I'm just curious.
I mean,
because, that's the one thing, in my opinion, that is so different.
Total
than everything else.
total societal collapse would have to be something totally different, and we can't account for everything. And the point that I was making was that we are accounting for what our business practice does.
Okay.
In
makes
that
sense.
situation.
Okay, I pick up what you're putting down.
You know, we can't control the government, we can't control the city, we can't control other businesses or our business partners. But for us and our business practices, what are we doing in this situation? So we had a plan to deal with, hey, there's a pandemic going on. What are we doing about it? But society as a whole, and I think the problem is how everything interacts with one another, how do parents and daycare and work and the government and healthcare and all of these things. Oh, there are millions of restaurant industry employees who don't have jobs and are not going to have jobs for
foreseeable future.
Right.
I mean,
and you know, we didn't plan for that, but that's also, I mean, you can't really the government, the United States government has done this thought exercise, or had prior to the Trump administration.
Right.
hey, LT45. I refuse to speak his name, by the way. He's going to go for the rest of if his name comes up again, he's
Ugh.
T45 for the rest of the conversation.
Funny story about that. Read about some guy who does not set a microwave to 45 seconds for anything anymore, only does 44 for Obama.
Yeah, I'm down.
Listen, if I really focus mumbo jumbo will make November go the right way. Fuck yeah, man.
Anything to help November go right.
Yeah, okay, so we are here to talk about rock climbing, because that's what we've all done together, and I pray to God that we can all do it again real soon.
Very
because,
soon.
And I'm going to go ahead and throw this out. I'm going to just go ahead and say this out. I don't give a shit if we climb 5'2".
Right.
I mean, that's literally probably all I can do at this point.
I'm into-
I've not touched a hold. I've not touched a hangboard. I've not touched
I don't
anything.
give a shit. I think,
since March.
honestly, I just really want to leave town, sacrificially burn my clothing just to make me feel better and make it it's just a thing, and then just arrive somewhere and be ready to go. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Zion, which we all went together, which was epic in a lot of different ways. I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think there was a lot of blood. There was a lot. I don't know if there was any tears.
Just a few prickles,
Little.
you know, like
Prickles? You mean barbs in your arm?
just prickles.
You had
whatever,
barbs
it happens.
in your arm.
It was one cactus, okay? It's one cactus.
One is enough, my friend.
I also don't think I was bleeding. When
You never,
pick- when
no,
pick that
you
stuff out
never
of my
bled.
arm,
I
don't think
just
was
I
bleeding.
literally had a heart attack because I was trying to think about how to explain to Mallory.
All right, we're
how
jumping
you
ahead in the
were
story.
blind.
Hold on. We're jumping ahead in the story.
We're jumping ahead, but my emotions were off the roof at that moment. I was more scared of Mallory than I was at you being hurt at the moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, okay. So how did we come across wanting to do Zion? I don't remember.
We were trying to figure out a way to do some big multi-pitch trad.
Oh, yes.
And we had talked about Yosemite,
Potrero.
Although
Yosemite
Potrero
was just
sport.
not going to happen because logistically it was a pain in the ass.
Right. And so you suggested Zion instead of Yosemite because we'd get 2 extra days of climbing for the same amount of travel time.
Yeah, because because we talked about flying into Palm Springs or LAX. No matter what, it was still
it's
5 hours
ridiculous.
of driving.
Right.
More than that.
Apparently, there's a way you can get there quicker because we have one of Mallory's really good college friends is in Yosemite right now.
Oh, nice.
And she was like, "Yeah, from the airport, it's only 3 hours." And I was like, "Wait a minute, we
Yeah,
need
hold on.
we need to recap
we
this
need
when
this
you get
data.
back
Yeah.
because
that was not
that's
our
way
understanding.
better." But anyway, regardless, at the time we thought that the 2 hour drive from Vegas was way better than because that's
Oh,
what it was 2
yeah.
hours.
It was 2 hours, hour and a half. It was an easy
That's fine.
drive too. That was actually the nice thing about Vegas. It was very, 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 very easy driving.
Right.
Yeah. So we chose Zion.
Did a couple planning sessions.
Yep, and then gear sort at the gym, and then I mean, honestly, realistically, it didn't take very much. We got there. I don't think shit got real until we actually started really trying to find routes.
Right.
And that was interesting. Which, to this day, I know I'm like jumping ahead, but I'm still like, so like after our whole trip, I'm not gonna lie, I slightly had like, I don't know if it was a nightmare or just like a random dream, but I had a random dream about that tunnel, how it never freaking ended.
Stuck there forever.
No, I just remember driving in it and I was like, okay, this thing should be over by now. And then like 3 minutes later, like we're still in the tunnel, and then all of a sudden this like little light comes through where it's like a chasm out of it.
It's a really big mountain, Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, such as all mountains. Such as all mountains. But when you go under it or through it, it really gives you full perspective of how big the mountain is.
I feel like being on it, climbing it, gave me a reasonable perspective of how big it was.
I felt big there too.
Of the mountain.
Right, exactly. I just climbed 200 feet, and we're like looking up for a day and a half.
Yeah, but
and
I
I understand.
Listen, we're not talking length. We're talking girth here, homeboy.
I'm talking about how well I used it. Okay, that's what we're talking about here.
And you did great. I was very impressed. I was very proud, and I was, bleeding by the end of it with just as much as the rest of you. But I was very impressed. Oh my gosh! So what? We showed up. We landed. We got the car. Blah 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 blah. We got there. Did we climb on the first day?
No, we drove
scouted.
out. We scouted a little bit, but we wanted to get tents up and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's way more important.
And we went to that gear shop in town, and we talked to that old guy who
Yeah.
had some interesting economic theories.
Yeah,
Right.
that was weird. I'm not gonna lie. That gear shop was like the most sparse gear shop I've ever seen.
It was also like a Thursday afternoon, so like it's
no,
not
but he had
exactly-
like literally nothing to sell in the gear shop. Like, do you remember it? It
Pictures.
was like very
art.
barren.
Well, but it was also like a bike shop too.
Was it a bike shop?
It was like a outdoors like rental place. It,
I mean, the
yeah,
guy
it
was cool.
Yeah.
He was definitely talking some weird stuff, but I liked it. I liked the place
Yeah, it was fun.
overall. But
And they had those little like guidebook pages things.
oh yeah, that part was actually really cool. That was actually really beneficial. That like pre-laminated guidebook pages that you could look through and take photos of. That's actually
That was nice.
that was cush. It was real.
Even
cush.
though I don't think we actually took a picture of anything.
No,
that
we did.
ended up
I mean, I
finding.
did. I know. I remember I did.
What did you take a picture of? Led by Sheep? Because we definitely didn't take any pictures of Kung Fu Fighter.
No, because we didn't know we were on Kung Fu
Right.
Fighter until we got on Kung Fu Fighter.
Right.
We were thinking it was something else.
Well,
but the
yeah.
only thing I think I took a picture of was like Led by Sheet, Mega Behemoth, or
Oh, Mega Mahedral, because we'd scouted
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah,
that's right.
and
We talked about doing.
then something of it, some other random rock climb, which never happened.
Right.
Which thank God.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we did that. We scouted. We went back to camp. We hung out, chilled. I mean, the first day was travel, but
Yeah.
that was kind of expected.
Yeah. It was travel and fun and just getting ourselves set up for the next day.
And then the next day we woke up, and then we tried to find what was that area of the park called? Do you remember?
No, not off the top of my head.
Are you talking about like the part that
Where
we ended up?
going? No, because we tried to go to that section because we were like, oh, hey, this whole area
It's
has a
full of
bunch of different
moderates.
trails.
Right.
What was it called?
No, I thought you were talking about the area where we ended up after Kung Fu Fighter and the moderates. I thought that's where we were trying to
Yeah.
get to first, but we didn't realize that it was just actually at the end. We thought
Right.
it was in a different zone altogether. And for anyone who's listening, so like if you go to Zion, Kung Fu Fighter, definitely a great route to get on.
Very cool.
What was it rated? Like 5.9?
Might have been a
10?
10.
10B, I
Might have been
think.
a 10.
Somewhere between
I'm
9 and
gonna
10.
say-
I think I have this
the
written down.
first
Hold
two
on.
pitches were 5.8, 5.9,
5.8,
and then 10B, right?
Yeah, because the third
Okay,
pitch.
that's what I thought.
what it was.
Yeah,
And
the third
we didn't-
pitch
and
was
we didn't
real,
do the
real.
third- we didn't do the third pitch.
No. I thought we had to finish it. We got our gear back.
No, we didn't. We left one piece on the wall.
Did we?
Yes.
No, we stopped at the chains of pitch 2.
Oh.
Right?
I just
Maybe
remember
that's what it
falling
was.
repeatedly on that thing
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being very, very angry.
It was a Burley lead.
But-
For sure. You didn't cruise
Nah,
up
there was
that
no
thing.
cruising.
You fought your way up that thing.
You took a big fall. You broke that point 3,
Uh-huh.
right? You put a hole in your Beyond sweater that was like,
Yeah, first time I ever did that.
right? I got a picture of that.
Oh,
that
man.
was for real.
Yeah, that the only thing that infuriated me about that last pitch was it wasn't that it was really physically demanding. It's like, and honestly, this is the truth of rock climbing in general. And to anyone listening or anyone who knows anything about rock climbing, understand rock climbing is a skill-based sport long before it is a strength or physical fitness or even finger strength. Like, and I know people are gonna scream blasphemy for me for saying that, but like, it is skill-based sport. And by the time I end up falling enough, I didn't have the energy. But I realized what I needed to do, but my fingers and my toes could physically not handle the abuse anymore.
Well, and it was this super weird finger crack layback.
It was like you're right.
It was, but the combination of the two on that what's that inner corner? What is that called?
Dihedral.
The dihedral. Thank you.
Yeah.
The inner corner of that dihedral made it super weird.
And
The
it was
finger
like a
jam you
scoop.
had to do.
But do you
was-
remember it had these almost kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but imagine a loaf of bread, how it has the lumps, and it had these little ever so slight lumps. The trick was when I realized right before the end, because the last time I fell, I literally had a quick draw in my mouth, and I was maybe 2 feet away from the anchors, and I had just figured out that it was more about placing your foot lifting it. So imagine like placing your foot flat like you normally do, but as you're going in, you turn sideways, lift your heel up, and then almost roll your heel down so the edge of your toe can kind of almost corkscrew in there. And I didn't figure that out until like the last like foot and a half before I was 2 feet away. And then I just didn't have the gas to stay on.
Right.
And like that thing.
11 minutes after you got past your last piece of gear.
Yeah.
And what it makes me think of is Cameron and I had gone to the gym a couple times to work on our crack technique because this was pretty much our introduction to crack. And, we worked to where we were like, okay, it sucks, but we can kind of do it. We understand the theory and we have a tiny bit of practice. We feel pretty good. By the time we get out there in Zion, we'll have a little bit of success, and we get up there and it was just like, everything was hard. Everything was brutal.
I don't think anybody understands, and I know this was for me. Like when I did what you guys did, what I finally went out climbing, what I was not ready for was the full sheer amount of pain that was involved. I knew it was going to hurt, but I just didn't realize it was going to be like this everlasting pain.
Right.
Like, you think about your first heartbreak in crack climbing, and crack climbing is way worse.
Yeah.
And like, it was just so painful the first time I ever got on it, but. Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
I mean, that was the first time I ever really got my ass kicked on a trad climb. And I think my body was sore and my fingers hurt afterwards, but I think that I don't like not being good at stuff. That is not a fun feeling for me. I don't enjoy that at all. And then getting on this, first couple pitches, 5.8, 5.9 of a totally different style of climbing that really and truly, I probably shouldn't have been climbing 5.8, 5.9. I mean, that style.
I disagree with that.
It
might
was
not have been as well. Okay, so you might not have been as well as you wanted to be at it, but you were climbing very proficiently. You had to learn.
But I don't like not being. I don't like that phase of feeling like I don't know anything about what I'm doing.
Right.
Then I got up there and I really I learned so much on that route about how to finger jam and about how to move my feet and about how to climb in a layback like that. But I sucked and I hated that, and it makes me want to go back and do it again. But I hated it.
I think such says every rock climber who's ever actually first tried their hand at real crack.
Crack climbing. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's crack climbing gives you that feeling. Then you get good at crack climbing, and then you get bold, and then you make the mistake, which I say mistake, but I actually love it. Off with climbing, and then you're like, you might as well be on drugs because off with climbing is one of those weird things. But we're going on to another tangent here. But yeah, honestly, from watching you guys climb, that's actually one of the things that I actually noticed, like, comparison to my first time climbing crack. Like, my first time climbing crack climbing, someone was just like, all right, this is what you do. You kind of put your hand in there, shove your thumb down, and then, like, when you want to make, like, a little cup thing, like, imagine you're trying to grab something, you can't grab something. And then that was it. And I was like, what do I do with my feet? They're like, oh, you just put them in there. And I was like, oh, okay. And so, all in all, I think you guys were far more better prepared than you realize, because the fact of the matter is, like, my first real crack climbs that I did, especially in the Wichitas or anywhere else, like, I really didn't get off the ground. Like, as much as in my little Peasley brain that I like to think that I actually really did some real rock climbing, but someone basically 3-1 my ass up the whole thing, and it's basically hauled me up the whole thing. And so, but I think it was that ego boost for me because I had no freaking clue what I was doing, and the fact of the matter that you guys actually had a chance to run some routes, because I was watching you guys on the second coming up. And it wasn't that you guys didn't know what you were doing. It's just, I think it's, the only way I can describe it is it's like your first time from swimming in a pool and then swimming in open water. It's the same thing. It's just when the current is working against you, it's like, this is a whole nother ball game. And you guys were like, you guys would cruise for like 15 to 20 feet. And then you need to take a quick little break. And then 15 to 20 feet. And you guys would cruise really, really, really well. Because the one time I got to watch you guys climb the most was on Kung Fu Fighter and Toilet Crack. And that was the one thing I noticed, because I don't know if you guys remember, but you went in different orders. Kung Fu Fighter, I can't remember. I think you went up first on Toilet Crack, and then you went up first on Kung Fu Fighter. So I had a chance to watch both of you too. And that was the one thing that I noticed watching right off the bat. So.
Yeah, it was definitely a good experience. And I think just like Cameron, I'm really excited to go back. Of course, now it's been 18 months, and it's probably going to be another at least year before we go again. But, whenever we make it back up to the Wichitas, using those skills, nuding up, like when we went and climbed Crazy Alice, I thought that was way better, and I think it'll be a lot better again when we go next time. So,
you guys, with me or without me, but you guys should definitely do Captain Crunch.
Okay,
because Captain Crunch is actually much like Kung Fu Fighter that we climbed, except the dihedral is, instead of facing to the left, it's facing to the right, and it's not as slopey and polished, but at the same time, there's this cool little chimney that you climb at the end, but it's still virtually the same thing. I think it goes at like 5.8, the whole thing,
nice,
and it's like. And when I say like genuine 5.8, it's like genuine, not true Wichita scary 5.8 or Corks Mountain 5.8.
Good deal.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in.
But yeah, so then after we got done with Kung Fu Fighter, we wrapped down, we got back to the base, we hiked our way around the corner to that other
Found the moderates.
place.
Thank God. That view was beautiful, by the way.
That was great. And we both got a couple leads in after
Do you
that,
wanna
right,
describe
Cameron?
the view to the viewers at home?
So the best way I know how to describe, imagine like this just canyon meadows. There's this like snaky river, and the river going through. I said river, but river. And it was almost sunset. So it was
Yeah,
like,
the sun was
it
setting.
was like shining. So the river was shining back, and then you saw the visitor center, and then you saw the Native American Center, aka Unaweep Canyon, because that's what it should be called.
Mkuntuweep.
Yep, Mkuntuweep. No, Unaweep Canyon. Yeah, Mkuntuweep. Unaweep Canyon is actually in Colorado. I messed that up because that's in Grand Junction.
Yeah,
Which,
get it
by the
right.
way, great place to rock climb.
Yeah?
Really demoralizing, but great place to rock climb.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah. Thank Casey Blum for that one. But yeah, no, that view is beautiful. The best way I know how to describe it is like imagine sitting on a rolling hill that is like close to 900 feet tall. And when I say rolling, it's like probably like a 45-degree drop all the way down. And it was just beautiful. And it's probably one of the best views I remember seeing out of the whole park, because everywhere else we went is kind of like even led by sheep. Like you can only see one direction.
Right.
But I feel like that spot, you could really kind of turn around. You could look up towards Toilet Crack, where as far as the bus takes you. But then you could look out of the canyon into the actual town. Is the town called Zion too?
Springfield.
Springfield? Okay.
I think Springfield.
Yeah, let's go, Springfield.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm almost certain.
Yeah, Springfield today. If we're wrong, then correct us online, and then we're still going to call it Springfield.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
But yeah, I just remember it was epically beautiful.
Yeah, right at the golden hour towards the end, and we were tired, and you were just sitting down there enjoying the sunset because Kung
very
Fu
sleepy.
Crack just beat you up so bad.
I think I took a nap.
Yeah. And Cameron and I went and worked placements and got some climbs in, and then we went home and felt like we had a good day.
No, but no, we ran into that guide there because that's how we got the beta for Toilet Crack.
That's right.
I don't remember what that guy was, but he looked true full dirtbagger status.
Yeah.
He was just a local.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he was just a local.
If you're listening to this, like, I give you full street cred for not washing your puppy for like the last 5 months, and then slight stains.
He was a
on your
college age
shirt.
local. It happens.
I mean, it was a full local.
Look, they were smoking it up in the mountains,
Yeah.
having a good time,
Tobacco.
Living the dream.
smoking it up. Right, that's what I said.
I'm pretty sure that was not tobacco.
Yeah, it was definitely tobacco. It was a left-handed cigarette.
Yeah, sure.
Look, you're the one that's making assumptions here. I'm just describing the scene. You're providing extraneous details.
Okay, fair enough.
No, but he was cool. Gave us some beta, told us Toilet Crack, and that did well. And then we went back and did on the first night. Is that when we went out?
Springdale.
Springdale. Yeah, close enough. I'm going to give you that one. Full credit.
Yeah. Close enough. Close enough. If anybody's in that town, we mean well.
Yeah.
We went out to dinner that night.
Right. I thought we did the
Yeah,
nice
first
dinner
night.
that first
Yeah,
night.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had the good dinner.
Wait, we're skipping ahead though, because after we got that beta, so when we got to the second area, Mario was so tired from leading Kung Fu Fighter that he just sat there and took pictures.
Yeah.
I did. I do have those pictures. You guys look great, by the way.
My computer crashed and I lost all of y'all's pictures. I
Oh.
need those back. I only have mine.
Okay,
So
I
throw
think
them
they're
on
still in
the
that
Google
Google
Drive.
Drive. I
They
think they're
are.
still
Yeah,
checked.
I haven't deleted the Google Drive, so yeah.
Okay. I thought I checked, but I will go. I'll double check.
Yeah, bare minimum, they're in my Dropbox.
Okay.
'Cause, like that's like my
But then-
emergency backup.
Yeah, so you got so tired. So Tucker and I climbed one climb, which was okay. It was pretty short.
Yeah, it was
was
fine.
And then we hiked our way back out, and we were like, hey, we're going to go scout led by sheep, because that's what we're going to climb tomorrow.
I forgot about that.
Oh my god.
And then we tried to drive out through the tunnel that Mario thinks never ends.
Which it doesn't.
The
But
never-ending
we're still
tunnel.
here. I understand we're here, but like it is might as well be called the never-ending story.
So we go through the never-ending tunnel out into the east side of Zion National Park, and we try to find our way to the mile marker, because that's all we had, right? To get to Led
Yeah,
by
it was
Sheep was
like-
like a weird mile marker,
like mile
but
marker
it wasn't
119 or
But
something.
it wasn't even
the
like
right
a
one.
Yeah, it wasn't like a clear mile marker. So
It was like a certain number turnoff with the fence.
Yes,
and so
that's
we were,
what it was.
We were like, is that a turnoff? Is that a real turnoff? Okay, that's a shoulder, but is it a turnoff? That was our problem.
I feel like someone should just put a sign that says shoulder or turn off. Like I know it's probably dumb, and I know, but like
well, how many
every-
people are going to climb that? I mean, it's a famous route out there.
everyone
but,
climbs.
like,
I mean, we ran into a party on the way up when we were on it. So like I don't know, but just in general, like when you're going to Crags, people are like, go by the obvious turn, and you're like, obvious?
Yeah. The
You're
old
like,
oak
your
tree.
definition of obvious in mine is
Come
that.
on,
And I
thanks.
think also, too, people don't realize, like, geographically, like, an obvious turn in Texas is going to be, like, some, like, snake-y,
no,
like,
it's going to be the
road.
only one.
Yes.
Literally the only one.
The obvious turn in Colorado is, like, you do 7 or 8 turns, and then there's this, like, hairpin turn that they're actually talking about, but, like, you're, like, confused all the way up to that point.
Right.
So that's just I think there should be, like, little signs or
So
something
yeah,
like that.
we thought we found it, but we couldn't find it.
No.
So we
we
hiked. How long did we hike in the?
So
we
then the
were
next
lost for
morning-
about an
That
hour.
night we walked around. We tried to find our way to
Oh,
the base of
yeah.
the cliff, but it was too dark to like see anything.
We hiked a little bit and we were like, okay, we think it's just over that ridge.
No, we
We
were
think-
like so far off. We were hiking around for at least an hour and a half.
The next
In the dark.
morning, right? The next morning we did the
that's
worst
right.
hike.
Yeah.
That
So
night we were like, I'm pretty sure it's this one.
The night hike was
It's like
short.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it was dark.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were hiking around in the dark with our headlamps. We went back. We did the dinner, had a little campfire, went to sleep. The next morning we get up and we were like super early, like 4:30, because we were
Oh,
like,
yeah,
we're
we
going
were-
to do this, and then we
tried
might.
to get to the start of the wall when the sun came up.
Right.
And I think we were there maybe an hour after sunrise because we started hiking before the sun was fully
Well, no,
up.
because we literally hiked for an hour in the wrong direction.
And then we hiked back and we were like, this sucks. We went back, redid everything, and we're like, okay, that was the wrong turn
How
off.
did we
It's
find
really
out
this
which
turn
way
off.
was the right way?
I don't know.
Because we went all the way back to the tunnel, stopped at the tunnel, and turned back around, and then we sat there and watched the mile meter, and we were like, okay, it's really whatever it is. It's 9.2, and so at
Oh, my
9.2 we just like
God.
stopped in the middle of the road, and there was no turn off, and we were like, okay, what's the actual closest one to this? And we drove to the next one, and we drove back to the back one, the one behind it, and they were like, okay, we think it's the next one. We went and we parked there, and then we almost screwed it up anyway because we almost went to the wrong side of the
left
bluff.
side of the mountain, yeah.
Yeah, and then like I started that way. I was like, it's this way for sure this time, guys. But I was the one who screwed it up the first time, and so y'all were like, don't follow that idiot. Go the other way.
You know, I don't
And y'all
remember
were
us
right.
actually. I don't remember us in agreement until we actually realized where the saddle was, because that was
Right.
in the description, like in the obvious saddle.
Yeah.
And like once we all decided what the saddle
We're just
was,
idiots. Maybe we don't recognize obvious things. But we're
yeah,
just
I think
three
that's
idiots.
basically it. Yeah, whoever decides to write in the guidebook is obvious. Your definition of obvious is wrong, by the way.
We needed a map. We needed better map skills. But once we got there, Led by Sheep was we walked past the start of Led by Sheep. I remember because I was in front again,
Well,
which
yeah,
y'all should
because,
never
like-
let me do.
Well, because the first bowl is like what 30, 45
Yeah.
feet up.
And it was like, yeah, it's just to the left, past the saddle. And I walked until I was like, guys, if I make like a wrong step, I'm falling all the way down this mountain. And I backed up because I couldn't even turn around. And you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, man. You're in front. And then somebody's like, oh, hey, there's the bolt.
Oh my god,
We
I do
walked
remember that. Oh man!
Oh.
Wow. That ultimately that route. Do I think it's like an American classic? If you're not used to rock climbing multi-pitch and you want to do some slab, great American classic. The only thing, in my opinion, about that route was worth it was the view at the top.
Yeah.
That was.
Honestly, it's a really good.
I was more
headspace-
sketched out by topping out. By the way.
It's a really
yeah.
good headspace expander. It's a really
Yeah.
good
Oh, yeah,
route.
you're exposed the whole
Right,
time.
You're super exposed. The long runouts between the bolts make for a really good experience, especially to lead where you're not as comfortable being in a situation where something could go wrong.
Yeah.
It's 5-5 the whole way. You don't have any hands, but you don't need any hands.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct. I mean, your shoes basically. I mean, if you're super confident, you can basically walk up the whole thing.
Right.
There were like some moves where like the only moves that I remember being sketchy, I think I want to say was at the start of pitch 3 or 2, maybe even 4. I don't remember how many pitches there was,
It's
but
5 total.
Yeah.
was it
I think it's
5
5, yeah.
5 total? Yeah, so it was the top of pitch 3 because the top of pitch 3 was like overtly steep for some unknown reason, like almost not vertical slab, but you might as well been, because like comparatively speaking
Yeah,
to the
right,
rest
sure.
of it, and that was the only time where I remember like using like a little chicken head or a knob as a hand, because I was like, oh, this is a little awkward, and that was like the only moment of like real rock climbing.
Right. Yeah, I felt like the rest was kind of like bear crawling up. Like
It was.
Like
I would say the
somewhat
creepiest
steep
part
slab.
for me was topping out and the rappel, because you remember like you couldn't let yourself go too far to the left on the rappel, or you would like miss the anchors, and like apparently I guess people had just been like stuck out in space, which sucks.
that does.
Yeah, because dude, the side of that thing like dropped off pretty sheer. I just remember like leaning over there, and I remember when I was rappelling, like scooting across, like you're trying to do like the king swing on El Cap, and I just remember finally like scooting across and like, oh, this is here, and then standing there and clipping in. But if you're not like paying attention at all, and you're just kind of like going where the rope goes, you like next thing you know, there was a zone where like you would go over and you're like stuck in open air. It's
Yeah,
like
get yourself in trouble.
like when we were in Vegas and we were looking at Fiddler on the Roof, there's a point in Vegas where like if you do Fiddler on the Roof, like if there's a point where you fall, or the follower falls, or if you wrap down into open air, like you have to go down to the bottom. Like there's no if, and, or buts about it. Like you're stuck. So
Yeah. So we got done with Led by Sheep. We thought we were going to be done at like 11 and maybe go do some more climbs, but
No.
instead we got finished at like 3, maybe 2.
we're cooked.
And yeah, and we walked back and we were like, what do we want to do? And we're like, well, we can't even go scout toilet crack because we'd have to go all the way and then take the bus or whatever.
Oh yeah, because
right?
you can't drive.
Because you can't, I mean, you have to get a special permit to drive out to that section.
We did
Okay.
go scout it, though.
So,
You're right. No, he's right. We did. We got on the bus at the end of the day.
Because that's
Okay.
when Mario learned the Makunta Weep story.
Yes.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, then after that, we went back.
Do you remember Mario laying on the ground outside the car, pouring goldfish into his mouth?
Yes, that was after the hike on the.
That was after Led by Sheep. We got done. We got back to the car.
I was
and we bought
over
one
it.
of those. We bought one of those giant cartons
Yeah.
of flavor blasted goldfish, which are
Always
delicious.
buy
That
the
now my
Flavor
kids
Blast.
love.
Don't
Yeah.
buy anything else but Flavor Blast
Seriously.
on a climbing trip.
And Mario and I, you had some of them, but it was
Bro,
really Mario.
yeah,
and I
we were
that, like,
annihilating that box.
Went to town on this box. And after we got done with that hike, I mean, like, it was literally
Oh my
just
god.
gluttony.
Yeah.
Like, nothing. Like
They were overflowing out of his mouth, just like
I remember you
pouring
took the box away from me at one
did.
point in time.
A, I wanted some, and B, you needed me to.
Yeah, no, there was definitely a problem. It was definitely a problem.
Oh, that was
man.
glorious.
Yeah, you're right. And then we got on the bus. Yeah, you know, it was. We got back to camp. We threw our stuff in, and we caught the last bus in. And then, no, the second to last or third to last bus in, whatever. And then we basically hiked up to the base of it so we knew where it was.
So we didn't make the mistake we made the night
Correct.
before.
Oh,
That
my
was
God,
smart
never. FYI, for anyone who's a new rock climber, always, 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 always do recon. Doesn't matter how tired you are, you will thank yourself for it later. Because being lost freaking sucks. Gosh.
Waste of energy.
Is this a giant pecan tree above us?
It is a giant pecan tree.
I'm like slightly nervous because I know pecan tree branches are like real fickle.
They are indeed.
Yeah,
But we
but-
had the big wind last night or 2 nights ago, so I already cleared out a bunch of branches. We're good.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna make some
Out by
pecan
your,
pie?
nice woodshed there.
Right? Yeah, when it gets cold, y'all are going to have to come back here. We're going to fire up my new fireplace and
Okay.
Oh,
hang
nice.
out.
Nice. Are you gonna guys make any pecan pie?
No, because I do most of the cooking and I'm not good enough for pecan pies yet.
I doubt that. I think your skills are just not tapped into.
That's
yet.
true.
Like,
Carly, though. Carly
Most
can
of
make a
these,
great one.
That's true. I think Carly could definitely be recruited to make a pie with some fresh pecans. But my question was going to be, like, do you have to sit on fresh pecans? Do you have to roast them? Like, are you
I
okay
don't know.
just like
I have no idea how
No.
this process
You know,
picking
works.
them up off the ground?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, you can pick them up, eat them. Pecans, or at least these trees, they only drop good pecans every other year. So these pecans are like small and weird, and there's not very many of them. But next year, they will litter the ground, and you can just pick them up and crack them and eat them.
I did
But
not
don't
know
let
that.
your dog eat them.
Right, not your dog.
Gotcha.
No, pecans are poisonous to your pets.
Yeah.
Dogs
Sorry,
are dogs and cats.
just dogs, I think.
Fair
But
enough.
I don't know. I'm not a catologist.
Fair enough.
Are you racist against cats, Tucker?
Yeah, I'm also allergic. So
I'm more of a cat person than a dog person.
I was until I found out I was allergic, and the reason I had bad allergies my whole life was because of our cats that I would rub on my face.
Ah,
Yeah.
That
And then
one.
I lived somewhere without cats, and I was like, what is this glorious feeling? And they're like breathing through your nose. I was like, yeah, what is that? And then when I went home, I was like, what? Why are my allergies so bad? And they're like, oh, yeah, maybe you're allergic to cats.
ugh.
Right?
Okay, fair enough. So we scouted. We came back the next day. Why do I feel? I don't know if I was just drunk at camp, but I feel like there was
Yes,
like some
that is
big,
true.
memorable moment at camp. Ooh, wow! That you opened that growler with some force. I'm impressed.
Pressurize. Tell your story. What do you want to know about being drunk at camp?
I don't remember being drunk at camp, so I need you really to remind me.
Because we bought Jim Beam.
Oh fuck!
And we were drinking straight from the bottle of Jim Beam that you can buy at any gas station in Nevada, because Nevada is a great state, and Las Vegas is a great city, unlike Utah, where you can't buy any liquor of any kind.
No, you buy wheat beer.
So yeah, so we got drunk at camp like we do every night when we go camping, because that's what happens.
And Mario didn't want to stay in the tent. He took his sleeping bag. No, sleeping
oh
bag
yeah,
to
because
the
you slept in your
hammock.
hammock.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
I did too.
I just remember all of us. Some unknown reason, the only word that pops in my mind is cocoon. I was talking about the movie Cocoon, and I just wanted to like roll up in that hammock.
When I was young, that was amazing.
That was a great movie. You haven't seen Cocoon?
I've never seen Cocoon.
Because he's a kid.
How old
We're
are you
not.
again?
Not wrong. 28.
How old are you?
What? I'm like a year older than you. I'm 38.
Oh no, I'm 36. I
Bruh.
just turned 36.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're a kid. I always think of you as like older than me because you teach me things. But
We're
yeah,
2
you're
years.
Actually,
4
yeah.
years makes you a kid. Like if there's a full term of office between you
Wait
and
a
someone
minute.
else, they're a kid. I love you. You're great. Don't get me wrong. Personally, me, I think you're the smartest one out of all of us. But like,
Oh, that's
moving on.
debatable.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna agree
That's
with that too.
debatable.
No, listen. Like if shit goes down and we have a like apocalyptic situation, I'm having you with the trigger. You're making the plan, and then all I'm doing is being the lookout.
I'm down. I'd be in that group.
I mean, I know your escape plan to get out of Dallas. Well, of course, that was to get out of Dallas. I don't know your escape plan to get out of Fort Worth. If the
No,
pandemic
it's the same.
turns
Actually,
into zombies.
FYI, it's the same. Like
Okay, all right.
I went to.
Oh, I guess with the river there, that makes sense.
Yeah. So actually, it's funny enough. So I went to the public library.
You mean
because
the socialist system to give people access to knowledge for free? Socialism, it's good.
don't tell anyone. But I went to the Fort Worth Public Library and I asked them. I was like, "Hey, do you guys have topographical maps of the entire city of Fort Worth?"
All right, so back to
Final
talking
day.
about Zion. So day 1, we climbed Kung Fu Fighter and over near Confluence. Day 2, we climbed Led by Sheep, and that was all because we miscalculated. Day 3, we made our way back to the back of the canyon, probably on the first bus of the day, if
Yeah.
not the second,
I
all the
bel-
way to the back of the canyon to climb Toilet Crack.
which was a beautiful climb.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there wasn't. I honestly would say there's not one bad pitch on that whole route, except for the very finish that we did not do. because it looked sketchy beyond belief. That was me.
Yeah, it just looked bad. That and, well, anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So I started off taking the first pitch, and I got halfway up, and then there was that weird section. Well, I tried to link pitches 1 and 2, did pitch 1, which was really like a half pitch of like 5-2. And then the next pitch was like 5-7 or 5-8, but I got about halfway up, and there's a section where it goes from like a off width to a hand crack, and that transition really bothered me, mostly because I didn't open my eyes and figure out, hey, you could use different feet than just the stuff in front of you. And so I stopped right.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because you were talking about spreading out in the dihedral, and you were just trying to stay in the crack.
Yeah, I was trying to stay inside the crack the whole time. And once you climbed it, I was like, oh yeah, look at all those ledges for my feet that were just 6 inches behind me that I just wasn't using. So anyway, I stopped, made like a really bad anchor, pulled you two guys up. You reset my anchor.
I don't think your
Mario.
anchor was bad. I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you that. Like, I don't think your anchor is bad. Because when I saw your anchor, it wasn't bad in any way, shape, or form. I don't think you liked it.
Yeah, no, I didn't
but,
like it.
You know, and I think this is one of those things where I wanted to chime in on what you were saying earlier. It's like the reason, you know, and whoever's listening to this, you can disagree with me all you want, but you're wrong. Adam Ondra is not the greatest rock climber in the world because he's perfect at everything. He's good enough. He's good enough at everything. And your anchor was good enough. Like, could you have made it perfect? But, like, that would have taken fucking forever. Like, no one wants that. Like, I don't want to be on that route forever. I just want to get it done.
Yeah.
And your anchor was good enough. And I think that's the big thing that, like, especially in trad, and I find with people placing gear and placing anchors, like, a lot of people might disagree with me on this, but there's a point where you can try to be perfect and you can try to be good enough. And good enough is far more proficient because if you place 3 pieces, you build a 3-point anchor and 3 pieces are good enough, those 3 combined make perfect. And I don't think people think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would rather that than,
30 minutes later, have the perfect anchor.
Oh, yeah, that shit drives me nuts.
So then Mario took the next lead, got up, and it was just that next little section. It was only like 20 feet left in the route, in that pitch, sorry. And then...
That was that dihedral, and there was the main wall, but it was just like a seam going
Right.
up, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it got wide in the middle, didn't it?
There were a couple of off-width sections. There was an off-width section kind of toward the bottom, and there was an off-width section in the middle, and then where we stopped at the end of pitch 4, maybe?
No, it's a 7-pitch route, and we stopped at 6, if you count the first tiny pitch.
Right. Well, then there might have been 3 like off-width sections
Yeah.
over the course of the route. It did a really good job of being
There
varied.
was one off-width section below, and I remember what you're talking about, because there was one section where, like, it wasn't that it was hard. It was just, like, really, like, you kind of had to step back for a second and be like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right.
And then there was that section where you had to go up next to the boulder, and you were, like, shimmying around inside that thing. And that's where I remember that was the only legitimate time where I was like, I'm legitimately nervous, because I do not like, because it was like you went up next to this boulder, you shimmied up, and then it was like this chasm, and then you
Right.
had to, like, go through this, what to me felt like a birth canal. Might as
Mhm.
well be.
Yeah.
And then I just remember that experience being terrible.
Well,
I really liked those off-width sections, personally.
Yeah. No, I liked the off-width sections too. I was thinking when you said canal, it reminded me of the where you had to climb kind of inside the cave and there were just no good placements. And that was the thing that the guy said. He was like, listen, it's got just a really bomber end hold and you just pull yourself out of that, but there's no good placements in the entire thing. And I was sitting there looking at it going, there's got to be some placement. We're talking, 15 feet of climbing of crack. And the whole time Mario was going, no, you can't place this. No, you can't place here. Let me try this. No, you can't do that. And you place something just to make yourself feel better. And as soon as you pulled the lip over to the outside, it just fell out. And Cameron and I are looking at each other like, oh no.
Oh my God.
It was like, don't fall, Mario. And you're like, what? We're like, your piece fell out. Don't fall.
I don't think, I honestly have no recollection of you saying that. I remember you saying, like, hey, Mario, keep going or something, but I don't have any recollection of that. I think I just blocked it out of my mind because at that point, I'm like, I just need to get, like, over the hurdle.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had that nice little, top of pitch 3, they had that nice little, the ledge was on top of that giant boulder.
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. Not that this person would ever listen, but if there was, what was the date of that day?
It would be sometime around the first, beginning of November 2000.
Yeah.
So it was like
November 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were in Zion around that time and you took pictures of people yelling at each other on Toilet Crack,
I was dancing.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the people
So
underneath.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Lots of
yeah.
people
So if
taking
you
pictures.
were there taking photos, I know someone was there taking photos. We would love to see those. If not, just for perspective, what am I saying? Perspective. I'm being vain as shit here. I just want to see myself on a wall.
Right.
But yeah, no, feel free to share those. Yeah.
That was good. The main thing that I remember from that route was the hanging pitch or the
It was right after that.
yeah, so it was 4 or 5 and the anchor was a hanging anchor and I was in the middle, so Mario climbed, realized that we couldn't all sit out at that anchor. So he's like, all right, I'm going to bring Tucker up. I'm going to keep climbing. And the wind was bad and I
Oh, I
got-
couldn't hear you for shit.
Right? I got knocked
Do we have
around.
walkie-talkies?
No.
No.
No, yeah, I remember.
After that, we were like, we have to buy walkie-talkies.
Yeah, but even then, though, like normally, okay, so even I'm hearing impaired as fuck. So like anyone who knows me knows that. But even then, I can genuinely like kind of make out what you're saying. And I think we had a tug system set, but the rope was going over a rock, so it didn't
Right.
matter anyway. And that actually brings up a very valuable point. I don't think we ever established this, but I think we kind of knew it inadvertently. If there was like 15 to 20 minutes of no movement, you can assume that the person is at the anchor. And then you just need to, at that point, wait for them to get in a position to be able to tell you to go. Because I remember finally topped out because that was the last pitch before we got to the other pitch where you could top out. But I had cloved off my anchor, and I literally had probably maybe 14, 15 feet of rope for me to walk all the way back, lean down, and turn so I could shout to you and you could hear it. And I don't think
Yeah.
that's the thing that people sometimes realize. Like, you kind of have to be comfortable. Like, tie a figure eight. Don't tie a bowling if you need to. But you have to kind of be comfortable with like going back, because I had to go back, shout to you, and then go back, and then I set up the system to be able to bring you up. And then I
you
had to
couldn't even
go
do
back
that yet
and
because I had to
shout.
bring Cameron up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so like it's this whole process, and it's one of the things I don't think people
Yeah,
actually.
Tucker was not doing very good when I got to it.
Oh, well, he was not.
No, I was freaking out because the wind was blowing me around. It took a long time for you to get that pitch. And, the system that we had set up was, like one tug meant this, two tugs meant this, three tugs meant this, right? And so it was like, and so you kept doing like one tug because you're just pulling slack up. And so I was thinking, okay, wait, was that actually two tugs? So then I'm doing my two tugs to see if you respond, right? And that whole process. And the whole time the wind is pushing me around. I'm looking down for the first part. I'm starting to get cold. I'm getting slammed against the wall. I'm starting to freak out. Like I'm having I don't want to do this anymore moment, right? And then Cameron comes up and we get through you. And that process took a little while. Then Cameron comes up, and I'm just like freaking out. I'm like, I've got the backpack on. I'm like, if I take a fall, is this rope gonna hold me and the backpack? And Cameron's like, yes, it's gonna hold you in the backpack. We're 4 pitches in. You think the person climbing with the backpack is just dying if they fall? And I'm like, yeah, good point. Cool.
Oh my god.
And then I got over, I think, about halfway up the next pitch. But just climbing is not the scary part to me. Sitting on the side of the wall, not knowing what to do, getting a little freaked out, starting to think of all the variables, that was the scary part. And yeah, it was just like, I just remember thinking, man, I thought I was going to go do Yosemite at some point, and here I am on a 7-pitch climb in Zion, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, no, man. It definitely puts things into perspective.
I think that it really does make a difference, though, that we were so inefficient.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We wasted
I agree.
so much time.
I think if we go back and do it, we'll be in and out so much better.
For sure. But I think that we made some mistakes with the way we handled our ropes, and like none of us were climbing quite as quickly as we maybe could have. And
We were stopping all stopping and eating at the same time when one person could have been eating while somebody else was climbing. We could have done a lot of things better.
I don't think any of us made bad decisions.
No, I would agree with
Right,
that.
In any way, shape, or form, because we
Right.
were very much conscientious about I was extremely conscientious about where every one of you were in your state, and I think you guys were very much so. And I think that's actually one of the big things that I noticed at the end of the trip is like you guys could definitely and pardon me, I've climbed with you, Cameron, more than I've climbed with Tucker, but I would equally say like each one of you two could easily read me while I was climbing
Right,
by
sure.
the end of the trip, and I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that me personally watching teams climb, I don't think that people take that for granted. The ability to read your partner. And I know this probably seems a little stupid, a little silly, but like to notice the nuances in your partner's climbing, and I don't remember what it was. I think it was you, but like you finally came up to me and like it wasn't even like you said for me to eat, but you like pulled out food and you like asked, it just like handed it to me like I wanted it, and I immediately started eating. And I think that's the thing that like people take for granted when you have climbing partners and you have like groups that you work with. Like you're so tightly knit that you learn how to operate with each other. But at the same time, like when you bring new people into the crew, and I'm not saying that we're doing that now, but I was talking to someone else actually earlier today about this. I was talking to someone else earlier today about this, and they were talking about like their friends going to Yosemite and climbing, and like how his friends don't entirely want to bring him into the system because it's a complicated system, but they have it wired. But I felt like we kind of figured that out on our own as we were going.
Yeah, we were definitely a lot better by the end of it, and I think we'll be a lot better when we go next time.
So where do we want to go next?
Wait, are you just going to leave out the part where we got the rope stuck while trying to rappel?
Yeah,
Oh my God, I
we've got at least
totally
10 more
forgot
minutes in
about
this route. So
Oh my
we get to the
God,
top,
I blacked
everybody
out so
celebrates.
much.
Yeah, seriously.
So after Tucker's belay station from hell, He gets to the top. Mario gets to the top. That's when we get to the spot where Mario's like, "Wait, this thing sucks. I don't want to lead it anymore." He's
Right.
super tired.
He's been
Tucker
leading
is
the
super
whole way.
tired.
Okay, hold on. Correction. It wasn't that I was tired. I
No,
was
you were tired.
I was tired, but I was legitimately scared. And I remember looking at both of you two. I'm like, 80% of this route is going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Terrified of doing this. And the rock quality was poor.
Yeah, that last pitch was not. Up until that point, everything was good. That last pitch was not inspiring to any of us, and we were just like, "Yeah, that's fine. We're moving on."
That's when I felt really bad that like I don't have any. I'd never placed a piece of trad gear ever at this point, and so I didn't feel confident being like, "Yeah, I'll take this
Right.
pitch. 6 pitches up. Let me go for it." Like, if I placed a single piece of gear ever at any point, I might have considered it. But considering I'd never, ever, ever, ever put a piece of gear in the wall, I wasn't about to make that my.
I'm not
first
going
time.
to lie. If you would have gotten like gung-ho on that thing, as one of my white boys that I love, I would have slapped the living shit out of you. And I would have been like, this is not something that you want to do. So you don't want this. And I was like, hell to the living no.
I think that you underestimate the level of tiredness that you were experiencing at
That's
that
fair.
point.
I'm going to 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that Tucker would agree with me that really, like, you were worn out on that trip. Actually, probably more than I've ever seen you worn out on any climb ever.
Yeah.
I was full haggard.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more than I mean, yeah, we've done 4 or 5 weekends together, you and
Yeah.
I, Mario, and
Oh, yeah.
that was the most I'd seen. You carried us that trip.
And so we decided, or you took a stab at that pitch, and you were like, "Yeah, there's nothing. We're not doing it." And we're like, "Great, okay, cool. It's getting
Calling
late.
it.
We're going down." And then we throw the ropes down. We start to wrap, and then the rope gets caught.
We
When
decided to use both ropes. We had used
Yep.
2 ropes, and
oh,
we
yeah, 'cause
decided
we wanted to
use
get down fast. We were going
Right.
to do a full-length rappel.
Right. And so we were like, we're not doing 1 rope, we're doing 2 ropes. Just tie the knot, we'll pull it. We throw the ropes, everything is fine. I think we did the first rappel just fine. We did the second rappel just fine. And then the third rappel, I think, or no, after we did the second rappel, because we could do more than 1 pitch in a rappel.
Yeah, because we were doing, because what, do we have a 70 meter?
Yeah, because we had.
Oh, yeah. Dude, we were doing like 320.
Right. And so, and you started pulling the rope after the second rappel, and it gets stuck. And Cameron and I look at each other like, uh-oh, what do we do now? I mean, we had brought us cinders and stuff, but Cameron and I were like, we don't even know what to do.
you were about to Jumar your way up. You were about
Yeah.
to like jury rig something to get back up
on
there.
Prusik knots.
I was
You
gonna
were-
do a
you were
Bachman's
gonna-
hitch.
yeah, you
It was
were-
I was gonna do a Bachman's hitch on an HMS carabiner on a auto locking HMS carabiner.
And
I
we-
blocked that part of my whole.
Oh no,
like,
I don't
remember
remember
that at all.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, you were. Again, I think you were more tired than you remember yourself being,
Yeah.
but also like that shit was miserable. And
Yeah.
then you were about to set that up, and I was like, "Wait, I have an asunder." And Tucker, I don't remember if you had yours at that point, or I know we had at least one.
Yeah.
But you were just like, "Oh my god, thank you
Yeah.
so much."
Yeah, it went by a lot faster. I do remember that now because I slapped that thing, put a double link sling in for a foot loop, and then I was off.
And you were gone. And then Cameron and I hung out for what it seemed like 45 minutes. We were just like,
Yeah, because it wasn't that long. It was like you were up there for a little while, but like we got down after. I think we just basically detached the one rope. Because did we have one rope? I
No,
feel like
you know,
we had
so-
one
because
rope.
he
The
dropped
rope-
one
Oh,
rope.
because he dropped it when he fixed it.
No, because the rope got stuck in the boulder. That's what it was. Like, so
Gotcha.
you remember that birth canal thing that we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it got like real tight at one end. And what happened was the rope got stuck, and then I thought I got it loose, and when I got it loose, and then the knot got stuck because we were pulling the rope through.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
And I remember just sitting there. I was like, why does this thing keep on getting stuck? And I couldn't figure it out because I actually had to physically come off belay. And then I
man.
put an auto blocker in on the line that was stuck, and I had to climb up the line, sliding the auto blocker up because I couldn't figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
And it was the knot, and that was like I just remember getting so frustrated because I did not know what was wrong. And then finally when we got it out, and I forgot that we just pulled it through and finally got it done. I was very happy to be off of that route.
Yeah. Well, you dropped a rope, and so Cameron and I were like, "This means we got to go."
Oh, yeah.
Because it was getting dark.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so we
that
set
was
it up.
scary.
It was just that last rappel to the ground,
Yeah.
right? So Cameron and I rappelled to the ground and started trying to get everything pulled, and then we stopped and we're thinking. So I think we yelled for you a couple times, but it was too windy. You just couldn't hear
Oh
anything.
no, dude! It was like blazing. The later it gets, the windier it gets.
Yeah.
because that happened to us when we left Led by Sheep at the end of the night. When we finally got back to camp, it was super windy.
Yeah.
and then we didn't realize that on Kung Fu Fighter because we weren't out that late.
Right. And yeah, so we were sitting there and we were worried, like, what do we do? You know, trying to figure out because we needed to catch that last bus. And so we were chatting and we were like, okay, if we're about to miss the last bus, do we need to run? And finally, when we were like, okay, 15 more minutes goes by, and then the rope landed down next to us, and we were like, yay, Mario. Oh, you rappelled down, we packed up. and then started hiking out, and Cameron just took a nosedive into a cactus.
That's when I thought I was going to have to explain to Mallory why you were blind in both eyes.
And it was funny because you were fine, but Mario and I were like, oh my gosh, all this stuff. And you're just standing there like your hand full of cactus needles, just like, guys, we're going to the bus. Everything is fine. And people on the bus were looking at us.
Oh, yeah, we're done.
Like we're ridiculous because you're holding your hand up like you have a broken
I remember this
arm.
lady on the bus just looking at us, kind of like just shaking her head in disbelief, like, you guys are dumb.
Made it back. That was a good night. Good sleep. And then we took off the next
we
morning.
passed the fuck out real fast.
Oh, yeah. So where to next, boys?
My personal opinion is I think we should go to Mexico. That's just me.
Yeah?
It's cheap. It's easy. Let's just be honest.
Why are we
All the
climbing
bad guys
sport,
got
though?
corona.
Why are we climbing sport, though?
Yeah.
There's trad in Mexico.
Look, Tucker wants to climb the nose
I mean,
at some point.
At some point.
okay, so you want to smell piss the whole way out?
Tucker wants
I
to
don't
climb
have
the
to smell
nose.
piss.
No, you have to smell piss because everyone pees on the nose.
Oh, I will. I don't mind smelling piss.
If we're my whole thought, I guess not a thing, it's a thought. If we're going to be doing one big trip every year or every other year or whatever we end up with, we can do plenty of sport trips. Sport trips are a lot easier,
Right.
not as difficult. At least around here, they're much more achievable on a semi-regular basis. If we're
Yeah.
going to do one trip that's going to be 8+ hours
But
to
you
get
can
to,
live like a king in Mexico.
if we're going to do one trip where we've got to drive or fly or whatever 8+ hours to get to, we're talking hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. Why the fuck are we climbing sport?
I would go back to Zion, and I would do Zion again. Start with toilet crack on the first day, do something else easy the next day, and then
I
try to
think
do
that
something
really
bigger.
and truly at this point, I don't think that it would be too bad for us to attempt, like, if we were going back to do three more days of climbing, I don't think that it would be too difficult for us to get back on 3 solid multi-pitch climbs. Like, it would be a fucking hard trip, and I'm not discounting
Yeah,
that.
no, I agree.
But I think that at this point, well, okay, once I get back in shape from fucking Corona, I think that we can definitely attack 3 solid.
I don't think the issue is going to be
Multi-pitch days.
attacking the route. I think, honestly, it's just going to be logistics. Like, in hindsight, looking back at all of this, I think if we could have improved on one thing, and this podcast is called Sends and Suffers. So I think the suffer, and I know this, I might be alone in saying this, but now with the knowledge that we have, I think if we improved our overall nutrition, we could attack a lot more stuff within a shorter amount of time. And and I'm not saying we ate bad. I'm not saying we did that, but we were more concerned in the climbs and what was going on. But if we're going to attack something really big,
Do you remember, Mario, your send and your suffer from this trip?
no.
Well, he's forgotten everything about this trip.
Yeah, Mario had forgotten a lot of.
Do you remember Mario's Send and Suffer?
I don't remember Mario's. I remember mine.
Yeah.
Tucker, do you remember yours?
I remember mine.
Oh,
do you want
well,
to go ahead and
mine's about
say
to be
yours?
new.
Yeah, please.
So let's go. Okay, so what was your send? And actually, what was your suffer? And then what was your send?
My suffer was when I was at the hanging belay, and I was thinking, I've been telling myself and prepping, making 10-year goals about multi-pitch climbing, and here I am 5-6 pitches up or whatever, and thinking I never want to do it again.
That means you were doing great.
I was miserable. I was afraid. I was just like, I'm whatever 300 feet up, thinking I'm gonna go climb a 2,000-foot mountain at some point in the future. Like, no, this is ridiculous. And then to me, the send afterwards was getting to the top and being like, good, yeah, I essentially peed myself on the side of the mountain, and that's okay. And I got over it, and I'm sure I will have other moments of fear and self-doubt in the future, and I'll get over those too. And it's part of the process. And I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad to be moving on.
And my suffer was that I felt like I was maybe not necessarily a detriment to the group, but I didn't feel like I pulled my own weight. And I don't like that feeling of there was that moment where I felt like you, Mario, you were very tired. Tucker, I knew that you were more mentally drained maybe than physically.
Yeah.
But we could have potentially continued a route, but I didn't have the skills that I needed to do that, to carry the group in that situation. And I didn't like that. And that was my suffer, was not feeling like I had the experience or the knowledge to help us handle some of the situations that we ran into, or when the rope got stuck,
Yeah.
we had to
Yep,
rely
yep.
on Mario to
Right.
take care of that. And I don't like that that's the case. And my suffer was that I don't have the skills and I don't have the knowledge to respond to situations like that when they happen.
Yeah, it wasn't that you were a detriment, but you couldn't put both of us on your back
Right.
and carry us.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that to me is a really important part of being a team, is that each individual person has those moments where each person says, I have the ability to carry the group. Not that you maybe
Right.
necessarily need to, but you could.
Your mindset is right.
My sense for the trip, though, was how much I learned and how much I figured out and how much I really enjoyed the experience of being on those walls and doing something that I hadn't done before, and figuring out like this isn't as scary or as serious
story.
or as I don't. There's a better word for it, but that it is achievable, that I can do it, and that I really do enjoy being out there and pushing myself. And I really like. I think I kind of like Off With the best because I feel like I'm wrestling with the wall,
Yeah.
and it's this like
Agreed.
totally achievable.
Agreed.
Can I personally wrestle with this situation to fight my way through this position to get to the next hold? And trad climbing embodies, I mean, outdoor climbing in general. There is no beta. There is no right way. There is no every person has to climb this route exactly the same. The way that it sort of is in a gym.
Yeah.
Everything is flexible. Everything is you can climb the best way that you know how,
Everything is on. Yeah.
and everything is on. But your beta, Mario's beta is not my beta. Tucker's beta is not my beta, and it is up to me and nobody but me to get myself from the bottom of this wall to the top of this pitch, and I just have to do that. If it's 10 pitches, 10 times.
Right.
And that was my sen, was having that realization and kind of relishing that experience. Mario, now it's your turn.
Now
Please
you
feel
get
free
to
to
talk.
talk.
Sorry, I like jumped in a little hardcore there. So as I take these things off my head here, and I'm gonna take some beer here. In hindsight, looking back at this, knowing that I had no idea what the other things were, I'm gonna go out of order that I just asked you guys to do. But my sen, honestly, and I'm probably gonna sound super sappy and super dumb saying this, but I don't really give a flying fuck. But my sen was honestly is building a better relationship with you two. Like, yeah, in all honesty, like that, hands down.
Mario,
to
our
this day-
relationship can't get any better, and you know it.
Oh, baby, it just gets closer, closer. Skins are touching, but there's still atoms to be bonding.
You might want to ask Audra about that one because I don't know that she agrees.
Listen, her opinion doesn't matter in bromance. But no, honestly, I genuinely mean that. The supper, I mean, honestly, and maybe this is like me flipping hats and I'm trying not to wear this hat, but the hat that comes on is the guide mode hat. I really wish that, and a small part of me wishes that I could have made sure that you guys sent and got to the top of every single route that you wanted to, because I'm okay with me falling on a route. I'm okay with me not sending. Like I fucking had to get over that shit in my 20s. Like, you're just gonna suck at rock climbing. You just have to. Once you're okay with sucking at rock climbing actually gets a lot better.
Yeah, a lot more fun.
Yeah, a million times better. And I think the big thing that for me is, thinking about that supper is like, this supper was maybe like 5% of the trip. Let's just be honest here. Like it
Sure.
was like, I really don't remember anything bad of the trip, and I think that's why I have a hard
Well,
time.
you blocked it out.
Right, yeah.
Well,
Let's
no,
be
you
honest.
guys
I don't remember any of
So
the trip.
let's think about it this way. Like,
To me, we got the climbing that we needed out of it. The
Right.
lessons were good. It would have been fun to top or whatever. It's something else that would all been fine.
Yeah.
But you're right. To me now, when I think of like big trad trips, I think of the three of us. And like somebody else may join or whatever, and I don't think it'll ruin what we've got. But I don't know. To me anyway, like 95% of my life is like the daily grind of the things that I have to do. But my mental world is filled with like loving my wife, loving my kids, and rock climbing. Like those are the three big pillars. I would like to say like God, but to me, God kind of gets in the other parts of it. And so when I think of like my dreams, my life, my aspiration, when people talk to me like, oh, what do you love doing? What is your life about? Like it's those things. And I'm thinking of like you guys and the big trips, or also the trips that I take with some other people. But like my big rock climbing goals are pretty much centered around the stuff that we're doing. And so while I don't talk to you guys every day, I
Right.
probably think about you guys a couple times a week, just like,
I'm into
oh yeah,
that.
I'm going to train and do this. And, and then Mario's going to do this, or Cameron and I need to go back out to Oklahoma. We need to check with Mario if Enchanted
gotta
Rock is a
decide
good
on the
time.
next trip.
Right? So like to me,
I think we should do some low hanging fruit. I think that's honestly it. Like, granted, I want to do something big, but I think like Wichita's.
Yeah, let's go to Wichita's and
in all
do a
reality,
day.
We should go to Quartz, because Quartz is like scary enough.
Dude,
Have you been to
give me a
Quartz?
month.
No.
I need a month.
Listen, come
Like
over
a
to the tension
consistent
board.
Oh no, we
month.
can't
Work on
climb.
my-
Like, I don't want to climb until September. It's too hot.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that then. But
I'm into that. But yeah, but I think that's it. And so I think, in all honesty, we just need to decide where we want to go. And if we're going to be simple about it, I honestly think, we should keep low hanging fruit, and we should at least do. And I think I said this last time. We should at least do Zion a total of 3 times.
Yeah. Right.
Because the second time we go back, we're going to kind of know what we're doing. The third time we go back, we're going to smash.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I think unless we have a hair up our ass to do something, we should just move on to some zone. But
Right.
it's not until the third time you know something. And I honestly, this might sound like really weird to say this, but it's like moving somewhere. It's not until the third year living somewhere new
until you really feel established and like people start to know you.
Yeah, then it's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So are you saying we need to pick a date? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not. I mean, dude, if you're ready to tie the knot, I am. I mean, this ain't a proposal, but it might as well be.
Well, I don't think we're going to be healthy and wanting to travel this winter. So you want to say
True.
what, next November?
I mean, I could disagree with that. I mean, if we can't fly,
Right.
but if we could at least, and this is why I said picking low-hanging fruit maybe close by. And
Oh, yeah. No, this November, let's hit up Oklahoma. Let's hit up
The Fern.
Yeah, I'd definitely be
we
down
need-
for some of that.
we got to go to like Valley of the Blind or Caves Creek. The Fern is too short. The Fern, you might as well go to
Okay.
Reimer's Ranch if you're going to go to Fern.
All right. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, but no, I definitely agree with you. Like, that's it. Like, my gut is telling me this, and it's probably wrong based on everything that I have in my head floating around. But I think we should legitimately consider maybe going back to Zion in February. Like, we're not committing to any plans, but like legitimately going back in February. Because if we go back in February, one, it's going to be one of the coldest months of the year there. So we don't have to do alpine starts. We actually want to start when the sun is already
the
up.
days are going to be so fucking short.
Right,
We're going to
let's-
have
yeah.
to like.
We'll haul ass,
Why not
homie.
spring break? Let's do
yeah,
March.
Like March would be. If we're doing that, why not do March? I'm with Tucker. Like,
dude, you gotta
February
haul
just
the fucking
in Utah,
ass.
in the mountains of fucking Utah. Like, I don't like the cold.
Yeah, spring break, March.
The
A
cold.
little cold is fine. February in Zion, it's like 0, man.
We start climbing at like 9 a.m.
I'm awake at 6:30 anyway. Like, what am
Go
I
on
going
a
to do
run
for
and
3
warm your
hours?
ass up.
Yeah.
We're gonna all
Because
be
that's
sharing
what I
one
want to do in a
sleeping
climbing
bag.
trip is go
March.
get extra exercise. Oh yeah, I'm on a climbing trip. I need more exercise.
Yeah,
Guess
when
I'll
we're
go for a
climbing
run.
We'll be
multi-pitch
sending
3 days
so
in a
hard.
row.
We'll be
Cameron's
sending-
got to get his 4 miles
Gotta
in
get my
28
cardio
minutes.
in because I'm not going to be getting any of that.
Oh my god! Oh, this is awesome. But regardless, I think early 2021 we
I
can
don't
make
know.
this happen.
Like,
I'll put a
want
pin in
to.
March.
I want to so bad.
assuming
God,
assuming
God, I
that
want
people
to
are
so
not utter
bad.
fucking shitheads and the world hasn't gone into economic
We cannot
collapse.
assume either of those
Right.
things.
And
So plan for it, and if it doesn't fucking work out, we just say no.
Yeah.
what am I going to do? Go come up here, drive up here 3 days a week to climb on the tension board?
Hell
that's
yeah.
going to really get me in shape to
Hell
climb
yeah.
multi-pitch.
Yeah, we run out. Dude, no, you don't have to be in shape. Listen,
No, I do have to be. For me, I have to be in
Okay,
shape.
so hold on. The beauty of multi-pitch is this: is you just got to do a couple moves, hang out, couple moves, hang out, couple moves, hang out, and then when the crux comes, you just have to throw down and then hang out and then repeat the process.
Just because he's the most experienced, we don't have to listen to him.
Right,
Cameron,
I'm
you
not
and I,
listening to him.
we're going to work some tension board, get some strength back, and then we're going to go up to Oklahoma a couple times. We'll go to Plano a couple times when it's early before anybody else goes into the gym. Well, we can figure it out.
I'm just so uncomfortable with the state of the world, with the state of
Oh, yeah.
the
No, I'd
state,
agree.
Yeah,
with
no.
the state of the Metroplex.
Actually-
And I, honestly, like there was. So I went to a BLM protest a month or so ago, and it was not what I thought it was going to be. But I'm really glad that I went, and what I was hoping to get out of it was more perspective from individuals like Mario who have the opportunity to share some of the things that they've experienced.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd gotten more of that. But I went to a protest. The next weekend, I drove back and forth from Mississippi. And admittedly,
Ugh.
I didn't hardly spend any time outside the car. It was just me and my mom, who I've seen a number of times. And I don't know, like, I feel like every person has to pick a number of people that you're just like, I don't really care. I'm putting,
yeah, it's your circle.
right.
Yeah.
So it was me and my mom, and then I met up with my grandparents when we were in Mississippi just for dinner, and then we drove straight back. And like those situations that I've put myself in a position where I could infect people, and then so like I put myself on self quarantine after that for 2 weeks. Like I was only in 3 gas stations and 1 restaurant. Like I'm probably fine, but I'm still not going to take the chance
Right.
that I'm going to go see other people because I've put myself. And then so like, well, do I feel comfortable going to the gym knowing that I could be the one that's infecting everyone else? Or like even coming over here, like I've been to these other places. Like, do I feel comfortable infecting Tucker and then Keely or James or Jack? Like, no. I mean,
Yeah.
really and truly, the answer is no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And so trying to work all that out and figure out like, okay, again, what am I comfortable with? What is Mallory comfortable with? Once people start going back into the office, if I'm going into the office, does that change things? And all of that is just so like, yeah, coronavirus isn't going to kill everybody. I get that. But I have 4 living married grandparents.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be the reason
No,
Right.
that's real.
that
That's real,
changes.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Putting a pin in the Corona topic, which is valid. If you go on any more BLM protests, hit me up.
Okay.
I recently read White Fragility, and
Okay.
I'm now recommending it. It's by a white
you have
person.
it, or, like-
I got it from the library
Okay.
because I'm also a public library person, Mario.
Mallory's all about it.
But yeah, and honestly, it's by a white person for white people, and so many things that were hazy to me are clarified. So
Right.
many things that like I've experienced and not understood were clarified, and it really gave me a sense of something that I could actually do.
Right.
I hear a lot of white people say things like, well, I'm being accused of being racist, and I feel like I'm not racist, and I don't feel like we can have a conversation about it. And through that book, it helped me understand a little bit of both sides and kind of how to move forward from that. And so
Hold on. I don't want to cut you off. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. Do we need to? Do you want to wrap up the podcast?
Nah, dude, we're on a flow. We're on a flow. Let's just let it wrap out. Because in all honesty, and whoever's listening to this, like, if you're okay, we're done talking about rock climbing. So if you want to sign off right now, go ahead and sign off. But like this is where real shit gets talked about. So go for it.
Okay. All right. So you were speaking. I apologize. We were talking about
No, you're
white
good.
fragility. You have the floor, Mario.
So no, it's funny you say that because I was talking to a friend of mine today, and it's a client that I've been coaching for a while, and she was like having a conversation with me, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I expressed to her from the perspective of a black male, like, okay, it's cool that you think this, but then I was like, but you have to understand, like, I don't look at interacting with law enforcement or interacting with people like this as a situation of like good or bad. I look at interacting with them as like, I could get the living shit kicked out of me, or I could die.
Right.
Then I'll die is on the latter end of the spectrum, only because of my experience with police and, from earlier being a military brat, I'm used to growing up with a bunch of white kids. I've been in a very privileged situation where I've always been, anytime as a kid, interacting with the cops, there's always been a white kid to talk to the cops. And like, I know that sounds super dumb, but like, that's honestly been my experience growing up.
And that's just so, to me, that's just such a different, because like, I was surrounded with so many white kids growing
Right.
up, like, and Mario, you and I have had the conversation
Yeah,
about how
definitely.
group dynamics have shifted in the 10 years, between you going through school and I going through school. But when cops showed up, I never had any fear about talking to them. And then hearing, you say that, and some of the other conversations that we've had about how comfortable you feel, or in situations where you're just like, oh yeah, I just get pulled over, or like there was the one time that I was following you, we were driving to Reimers,
Oh, that
and
shit
you got
was
pulled
wild.
over.
I gave you the death.
I know.
fucking-
No,
was like, "Get the fuck in the car."
I fucked up. But it wouldn't have even occurred to me. So you might not know this story, Tucker. So we were going to Reimers. We were doing a climb. It was the fucking middle of July. It was hot as fuck. And we were driving through Bee Cave.
yeah, okay.
And Mario, some cop just starts tailing him. And so he's got 5 people in his
So
van.
it's me sitting in my van,
Yeah.
Taylor in the passenger seat,
Okay.
We've got
Tommy,
Amanda,
Tommy, which I saw today,
Uh-huh.
Haley, Ashley,
Yep.
and one other person I can't
And
remember.
Malik.
Malik, all sitting in the back of the car. And in the van, and the thing about it
No
is
seatbelt.
like, if you don't pay attention when you come up to my window seat, the back of the van is so dark,
Yeah.
you can't see anybody back there.
Yeah.
And Malik, Tommy said a statement that I'll never forget to this day. He was like, "That was the weirdest interaction I've ever heard between a human being and a police officer." And Malik was like, "Nah,
Right, yeah.
that's normal."
Yeah, that's every interaction.
And it was that moment that, like, I remember just giving you a look when you get out of the car. I'm like,
so
"Oh my god, you're gonna get all of a shot."
Mario
He gets
pulled
pulled
over.
over, yeah.
He pulls into a gas station parking lot. I pull into the gas station parking lot, like, in front of his car. Like, the way that it was set up
You
was
were
kind of weird.
out left, yes.
It was just kind of a weird situation. And then I get out of the car, and the cop, like, all of a sudden is like hand
Hands
on
on
his
the
gun,
gun.
like freaking the fuck out. And Mario's like, no. He's like, "Sir, get back in your car." Mario's like, "Go sit down. Just go wait." And I was like, "Okay, all right."
You almost died.
Yeah.
And we almost got shot.
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest here. I'm white. I don't know that I would have died in this situation.
But you were about to have a gun
However,
pulled on you.
I was not about to make things better for you.
It's not PG-13.
I don't.
The moment a
think
motherfucker
that's
puts
the
his
case.
hand on a gun, you
Look,
can
man,
consider you
my
are gonna
car,
die.
It is the color of blue cotton candy.
I
Okay,
think-
I am a white man with freckles. All right.
Fuck.
I think this is a good illustration of the difference between how certain people view the police.
100%. And while I recognize that this guy pulled Mario over for some fucking bullshit reasons, because he was a black guy driving through this city, is really the reason that
In a
he
free
pulled
candy
you
van.
over. Yeah, and I mean, he
So
said Mario's
so just for-
registration was out of.
No,
but,
okay,
like,
okay. Just so
we're
everyone
driving,
else
like-
knows, my registration was out of inspection by 1 month.
Your
no,
inspection was
not
out of
even
date.
1 month. So it goes like what, like 4 something. So my registration was out of inspection very shortly.
And we're driving down whatever that highway
71.
is. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
For drivers.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're driving the speed limit maybe a mile or 2 an hour over. I mean, like, Galaxia does not drive that fast. Let's be
Right.
honest.
Yeah. Everything is fine.
No, Galaxia is a slow-moving vehicle.
No, the only reason that guy pulled Mario over was that he is an African-American man driving a van through Bee Cave, Texas. Like, or that might not have been Bee Cave at that point, but whatever. It just is such a different experience. And I think, so honestly, the reason that I left that protest, so I actually got, it was me, Mallory. I had a cousin that went, her mom, my aunt, and my dad. Actually, so we had a pretty decent group, as well as one of my coworkers. Have you ever met Tommy? He's a big bald dude, has this giant red beard.
Did he
I
come
don't know.
climbing with you one time way back in the day?
I don't think he's ever been climbing.
No, then I don't think I've met him.
He's been to Dallas. He used to climb at Dallas, actually, for a
then
while. He used to climb at Dallas.
Okay, I have a visual picture of someone, and that's the only thing.
He was
that
at my wedding. He was the guy who was doing a ton of dancing at my wedding.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that guy.
I remember him.
Yeah.
He was nice.
So I had this pretty decent sized group, and we go to this protest, and it was the We Take the Streets protest, which
nice.
they do from City Hall every single day. Which I commend their.
They're still doing it every single day?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh,
I don't know how
fantastic.
big it is anymore.
Yeah.
But their whole thing is they march through the streets, they block off intersections, they make some noise.
Yeah.
That's their whole thing. Which, I mean, honestly, again, I really commended when they block off the intersections. They have a megaphone. They hand it to anybody in the crowd who has a story that they want to share.
Yeah.
They offer that time and that space to those people to share that story. But I don't know if it was the day that I went or the group of people that was there, but there were a lot of white people that were talking in those situations. And that's not why I'm at those protests.
Right.
You know, like, I'm not there to hear from other people of privilege about why they're there to support other. Oh, okay. So the other thing about this protest that I went to that was part of the reason this group that I was with left, we marched from City Hall through downtown to Uptown, and we marched down McKinney, basically like a ways.
Yeah.
It was not a short protest, and they're doing a good job like throughout the way of leading chants, and I didn't learn what ACAB meant until afterwards.
Sure.
That was
What does
a new one for me.
ACAB mean?
All cops are bastards.
And so we walk past. There's a Whole Foods on McKinney in Uptown,
Oh yeah.
and they tried to divert the entire protest through the Whole Foods.
Okay.
And I guess there was some security guard or something at the front that they wouldn't let
Yeah.
the leaders of this protest walk the whole group through the Whole Foods.
Yeah.
So we keep walking down McKinney, and I'd figured it was just we'd stopped for some reason. They were talking to this guy, whatever. And then, so we get to like the end of McKinney where it splits, and they were like, "Do you think this is a pretty good group?" And it's like 300 people. Like, it's a decent sized protest,
a big group.
not huge, but
Yeah,
pretty
but that's solid.
reasonable size. And we were like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Do you think it would be bigger with 500 more people?" And yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's
How
simple
numbers work.
math.
And they're like, "Do you think that the target off of Lemon could stop 500 or 800, all of us walking into the?" And I was like, "Wait a minute."
Wait,
Yeah,
are we
hold
talking
on.
about rioting and looting?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm trying. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And I guess their whole idea was that they were going to disrupt these businesses and force these business owners to recognize that people are upset and they
Yeah.
need to side with the consumers. Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they need to use their influence and use their privilege to effect change.
Yeah.
No,
Which
I mean,
I get, sort of. I'm not saying I disagree with,
Right.
but I also don't think that putting 800 people into a Target is the best idea in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, I think Killer Mike said this best, and and people disagree with me on this in multiple planes, but like, I understand the premise of rioting and looting as a form of protest. Absolutely, I get it.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
like for example, do you know what one of the first items to go the fastest is in a riot and a loot? Baby supplies. It's one of the first things to go, like super fast.
That's just expensive. I wouldn't know. But
Yeah.
I'm
aware.
I mean, but that shit goes really fast, and so like I understand the premise of it, and I don't believe in destroying your own home,
Right.
to make a point. But at the
Don't
same
cut off
time,
your nose to spite your
if
face.
motherfuckers won't listen, then you got to do what you got to
oh
do.
no, yeah, for sure. And I think that the fact that, like, I had a discussion 3 years ago, back when Colin Kaepernick was still playing in the NFL, and the whole kneeling,
Yeah.
his whole kneeling protest was a prevalent part of this conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
because that's really what it was a precursor to
Right.
the mass movement that we're seeing at this point. So Mallory's step granddad, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Mallory's granddad died, remarried this new man named Bob, who's been in her life her whole life. And we're having a discussion about Colin Kaepernick. And he's talking about how privileged he was and how he never came from environments where this was prevalent, and he's very white anyway. And I didn't have the experience or the knowledge to really, like, a lot of the things that have come to light since then have been wonderful talking points for why what he was doing was the right thing at that time. He's using, like I tried to give he's using his platform to speak out for other people who don't have this reach and this voice. And, just in his mind, he's just being disrespectful. And he's just he's not doing the right thing by making football about politics or whatever.
Yeah.
And then now we end up in this situation a handful of years later where we're past the point of peaceful protest. People have protested peacefully for a number of years. And
since the 60s.
Before the 60s.
Yeah, true. Well, and one of the things that I think to go along with that is, a couple weeks ago, when the riots were more of a talking point, everybody was talking about them, and, people who were against the general movement were talking about them and saying, like, oh, no, I can't believe people are for rioting. Like, of course, cops shouldn't be killing people, but, these rioters are also killing people, and nobody's standing up to them. And
are rioters really killing people?
Well, that's for the sake of the argument anyway. And anyway, as it was happening, I'm having that conversation. I'm like, I understand the rioters. I'm not necessarily for the rioters, right? Yeah. I understand that. I don't necessarily agree, but at a certain point, you protest and you kneel at a football game, and that's too much, right? That's really bringing everybody down. And so then we get the rioters, and then the rioters stop, and now people are peacefully protesting, and you just don't hear it. It's not in the national discussion. And so part of the thing to me is, if a protest doesn't affect people, it's not really that much of a protest.
Right.
Protest involves disruption. You must disrupt the main. You've got to halt something. Yeah, you got to halt the state of whatever is natural in the world.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, I think you're spot on. And I think the problem with the whole kneeling with Colin Kaepernick thing is people were like, I'm just gonna say it like it is. Assholes think they own football, right? And they're like, "Well, football is an American sport, and you shouldn't have to do anything." Football is as political as it fucking comes because they hire professional football players to go to public Republican and Democratic conventions to get people to show up. Football is a not Republican. Football is a politicized sport. It is used for whatever you want, and football will yield to the highest bidder.
Yes, the military pays the military pays the NFL to get the national anthem there. So to me, that's already.
I would 100% agree that, but it is also, I think that making the argument that those public figures in the sphere of football are just public figures.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for listening. I know this was a long one, but as you can tell, we are having fun. We touched on a lot of topics. We touched on a lot of things. If anything affected you or you thought was cool, drop a comment, leave a message, or if you guys have a story that you would like to share on Sins and Suffers, feel free to reach out to me. Honestly, the whole point of doing this is just to talk to rad people. And if you're listening to this, you're as rad as they get.